The highly anticipated debut of former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg on the debate stage left a lot of moderate Democrats puzzled and disappointed. That is part of what we are going to discuss as we go around the table, Campaign 2020. Joining me around the table is Keith Schmidt, who served as state director for former Republican Senator Rick Santorum. Keith assisted in Santorum's run for his presidency, for the presidency, so he knows what it takes during this primary season. Also, as we go around the table, is Joe Mystic, who teaches law at Duquesne University, and Joe's been involved in Democratic politics for about as long as Joe's been alive, I think. So, Joe, let's start with you.
Sure.
Many are saying that Bloomberg was a bust last night, and now the moderates within the party are very concerned.
Oh, I don't think he was a bust. Was it a rough start? Indeed, it was a rough start. You know, I did a little boxing when I was much younger, and I can tell you there's a big difference between sparring and fighting. Last night was sparring. It's going to take a little while to limber up, and as you saw, even as they got later into the debate, he got better. So he has to get his legs back.
I agree, Joe, it was a rough start, but I'm not sure how long that's going to matter when you look at the viewership of these debates. And I would argue that more people are watching his commercials than are watching his debate performance.
Absolutely.
And in the end, if I look back on my time in presidential politics, when I had a candidate on the stage, the thing that happened when you had a bad debate performance was the money could dry up for a while. And that's never going to be a problem for Mr. Bloomberg.
No, it's not. And speaking of the money, Warren did extremely well last night.
Funding coming in. Indeed, she was in a constant attack mode from from the opening bell all the way to the end. I'm not sure that wears well on people either.
I think it's a little too late for both her and Joe Biden. I still contend that they're hanging on, but I don't see them coming anywhere close to the convention. They'll long be off the ticket or out of the running before this convention. And I think she was getting her last gasp, and I saw a lot directed towards Amy Klobuchar. So I think she was saying, I have to fight at least to be the last woman standing, and I don't think she's going to succeed.
I actually thought Biden had a good night. I thought it was one of his best performances. And oddly, if you watched him afterwards in the interview, he was really hot in the interview after the debate. And you know, if he could only inject a little bit more of that in the actual debate, he'd be better off.
But the money is drying up for Joe.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and that's going to be a critical problem for him.
Well, as you guys are discussing right now, let's move on to this. Adding to the concerns of the moderates is the polling in the next two states that are choosing a nominee.
Sure.
This is the latest average of polls in Nevada as compiled by Real Clear Politics. I should note all of these polls were taken before last night's debate. The longtime leader, Joe Biden, continues to drop, and Sanders continues to surge ahead. It's not just in Nevada. This is the average of the polls for South Carolina as compiled by Real Clear Politics. The story is much the same. Biden is dropping and Sanders is moving up. And nationally, Sanders is increasing his lead over the moderate candidates, including Bloomberg. So, gentlemen, is it Sanders now to lose?
Well, Joe's still in the running. I mean, in fact, he's still ahead in South Carolina. These are small margins. And as you said at one point, these polls are a snapshot of a moment in time.
Right.
And after the debate last night, we're not entirely sure what impact that had.
Yeah, I would argue it's going to be a race between capitalism and socialism in a very big extreme in the middle. And it's going to benefit Mr. Sanders if he can narrow the field quickly because he needs a first ballot win. If it goes to a second ballot with the superdelegates, I think he's toast.
Well, this is also because what you're talking about for Sanders, it's also Bloomberg's perspective as well as to narrowing the field down. This is a quote from his top strategist, Kevin Sheekey. He said after the debate last night, we're going to show it to you, and this is that the fact that if the state of this race remains status quo, with Biden, Pete, and Amy in the race on Super Tuesday, Bernie is likely to open up a delegate lead that seems nearly impossible to overcome. I don't think many people understand the dire circumstances here.
Campaign spokespeople usually have some other agenda. Both Senator Sanders and Mayor Bloomberg need each other in this race. And as soon as they can clear out the middle, they'll both really be on a roll. And my money would be on Bloomberg.
And having started the campaign on Super Tuesday, it's going to be tougher to build some momentum. I still believe that's a tactical mistake by his team. They should want more people in the race. I think he should favor a brokered convention. A brokered convention gives him the nomination.
We may be discussing that a little bit later. Gentlemen, thank you for going around the table this afternoon. We will know more, of course, on Sunday as to what happens in Nevada. Also, a reminder for you, CBS News will be hosting the next Democratic presidential debate in Charleston, South Carolina. Gayle King and Norah O'Donnell will moderate, and you can see that debate Tuesday, February the 25th at 8 o'clock right here on KDKA-TV.